This is a production of KMmedia.pro. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple: to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So come on over into our world. I know you'll like it, because on today's show, we get to feature a young lady who's out of the Portland area, who's a filmmaker, a producer, a screenwriter, and has produced many shorts and has won awards and different film festivals and stuff. We're going to talk to her in just a moment. And so stay with us, because it's going to be a great show. I promise you that. And also, I want to talk to Nathan real quick. Nathan, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, and happy Friday to you, Kevin.
Happy Friday to you, too. You know, you've been in the business a while, and I've been doing some research, and I've been looking at, shows and stations that feature, things like, I don't know, Positive Talk Radio and stuff. And you know what? I can't find any.
Oh, man, let's see. Where would we go to look? You've done your research.
I've looked at every radio station in the state of Washington as well as elsewhere, and everybody features, because on Wednesday we were talking about AI, and the gentleman was saying that and go to positivetalkradio.net to get that interview, and he was telling me that negativity, hate, and division sells soap. I really wish it weren't that way, but it does seem to be that way. And so if you find a station that we can grow into with Positive Talk that would fit, because I just can't see me. Do you know who Sean Hannity is?
Does not ring a bell.
Well, that's because you're not a right wing dude, and so you don't hang out in the right wing world. I can't even say it. And but I can't imagine that this show would go on one of those stations that would be like a Fox or something like that, because it's not what they do, because it sells more soap when you do hate, division, and fear. And so I just thought I'd point that out.
I mean, the whole journalism thing goes, if it bleeds, it leads.
I wish I'd have thought of that. That's a great bumper sticker. If it bleeds, it leads. And yeah, I like that.
It's the negativity that just seems to sell the news, and we don't want that here on Positive Talk Radio.
It doesn't serve us well. And the other thing I wanted to bring up before we bring on our guest is that, I worked at a vertically integrated chicken processor in Arkansas for a number of years. And when they found out that I was from Seattle, most of them were from the South and around in those areas. And they'd say, well, my goodness, you must be from the left coast. You've got the left coast that is out there where all the liberals live. And we don't like liberals around here. We hang them and stuff. And I think they were kidding. I hope anyway. And, but I found a group that, they are what they call left coast comedy. And they're a filmmaking group, and they work to develop great stuff that includes, their ethics are justice, mercy, and love, which is very much aligned with what we do. And I got to tell you, the person in charge of this is the most hardworking human being I think I've ever met. Because what she'll do is she'll do films on the weekend, and they go different places, and then they write scripts and they put them together, they cast them, and it really is pretty remarkable what they do. And later on in the show, right after the break, I want to let everybody know that Positive Talk Radio is a self-funded project. And I don't want anybody to think that is going to go on forever unless we get some help. So we, in the next month, are going to be putting together a bunch of stuff, including free airtime. If you want to become part of the Positive Talk family, there will be some costs incurred for production and stuff, but but we want more people to support us and to understand what we're doing. So we've also got a Patreon page that we are going to be posting a little bit later in the show. But first, thank you, by the way, Nathan, for being who you are, and I really appreciate you, and I always have, always will.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, too, for hosting the show. You're the one that really drives the energy and keeps it all fun.
We like to think. Sometimes we do better than others. But, oh, by the way, at 3 o'clock today on Kixie, we're also doing the Positive Talk Radio on Kixie at 3, and we're going down under. We are. To a wonderful lady. Her name is Paula Conroy, and she's got an energetic system to really help women live their lives to their best. And she's got what they call the circle, and they've got a bunch of stuff. So come back to Kixie at 3 o'clock. I know you have to leave KKNW, but just for an hour. Come back to Kixie at 3, and we will have Positive Talk Radio there. It's on Fridays every time at 3 o'clock. So I hope that you'll come and visit with us and stay with us. And so thank you, Nathan, for all the things that you do. And with that, why don't we go ahead and introduce our guest for the hour. Her name is Jill Murphy Long. She is, like I said, she has 9 completed feature films, screenplays, and more than 40 short. Like I said, she's the busiest woman that I know. More than 40 shorts, and it's all about environmental issues, social injustice. And I was watching one a little bit earlier about 2 ladies that discovered at the same time. I didn't get to see the whole thing because I was going to cry. About 2 ladies that discovered that they had 30 days to live because of their cancer. And it's a real heartfelt. I encourage you to go to jmlfilms.com and learn all about Jill, her work, and the Left Coast Comedy Group and stuff. I think it'll be great fun. Jill, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Well, you are more than well. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for doing what you're doing. It really is cool. How do you have the energy to do everything that you're doing?
I'm driven by the opportunity to connect people and to make something great. I really love making movies. I love writing, directing, and producing. So that alone just drives me to the next one. And the response we get, reaching out, meeting people like you really makes it all worthwhile. So that's why.
No, I got to tell you, the films that I've seen, and I've been to a couple of production meetings with your group, and I'm looking to working with you and doing some really fun things and doing some more. I got to tell you, everybody is very, very passionate about putting together the films that you do, the shorts that you do, the comedy sketches that you're putting together, and it really makes for a lot of fun. And you can go on YouTube as well, can you not?
Right. So we launched Left Coast Comedy during the pandemic because, again, we wanted to connect and meet with people. So what you're referencing is we meet on Zoom once a week and table read our scripts. So it's been really fun to have the writers hear their stories come to life by the actors in the room. So Kevin's a writer. I want to see what he can do. So we're going to start up again in September, but also crews coming in, excuse me, like Jack, our great music composer. He joins us and he gives feedback. So it's just great to create this community. But since then, we have produced we have 28 comedic sketches, ad parodies, and music parodies. We kind of, our benchmark who we're trying to achieve to be is like Saturday Night Live, but on the West Coast, the vintage Saturday Night Live with series and characters that cross over to different episodes. So we have 14 episodes up right now on our YouTube channel, which is Left Coast Comedy. So people can watch for free. We'd love if you subscribe, comment, like, because that just helps us grow the community here in the Pacific Northwest.
And you're based out of Oregon, out of Portland primarily, right?
Right. Yeah. I live in Portland, Oregon, but we filmed in Washington. The idea, my first goal in creating this is obviously to meet other creative people, but secondly, to put a spotlight on all the writers, actors, even singers and crew here in Portland and get us all working together on Left Coast Comedy. And then they're meeting each other and working on other projects too. So that's what we're trying to do here. And it will extend the whole way down the left coast because, in fact, one of our sponsors, Tucci Restaurant, who's kind enough to let us go in at 6 a.m. and film a comedic skit there, he just offered his Palm Springs home to film in. So that sounds wonderful this winter when it's raining sideways here in the Pacific Northwest, to go to sun and warmth and put Jesse in the skit again because he was in Miss Cute. So if you look on our YouTube page, look for the bartender, Jesse. He's great. And his partner, Greg. So we just really appreciate all the community reaching out and supporting us. A lot of private homes have been open to us to let us film there. Actors, neighbors, businesses, nonprofit organizations. Rocky Point was a beautiful setting we just filmed at. The Moose Lodge we're filming at next month. Lakeside Market in Camas, Washington, we filmed up there. They closed their doors and let us come in and film for 6 hours. So we're quick. We get in, do it, and get out, which means there's a ton of planning before. And that's where I come in. I do all the paperwork to make sure it happens in that time frame.
All the paperwork, all the planning, the logistics, and getting the actors in and out and everybody. By the way, just as an aside, if you need somebody who, if you've got a character that reminds you of like Wilford Brimley,
that's you.
Yes, you can certainly use me because then he's passed now, but he was in Cocoon and a bunch of other movies and stuff like that. So
no, you're on my list. You're on my list.
I live a bit of a ways away. By the way, she is also on the cover of Pacific Northwest Collaborative Magazine. That is a magazine that we publish, and and it's free. You can download it by going to kmmedia.pro and click on PNW Collaborative Magazine, and they've got 2 episodes up. We've got another episode coming out soon, and it's all free. We do it as a public service. Yeah,
Amber Smith, and you did a beautiful job. I saw your first issue in the springtime, and then Amber and I connected through you. So thank you, Kevin. And she did a beautiful story on Left Coast Comedy. So Abel, who's one of my Washington-based actors, is in it. Nadir, Seth, Scott. There's so many actors in it. So she was really kind to put a lot of photographs in because, photos tell a story, and just covered our story. So beautiful magazine. She sent me a hard copy, and I'll share that link with my Left Coast Comedy Facebook group and the group that's also on Instagram. So I'll get that out today so people can learn more about what you do on your radio and also in your print publication.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And by the way, if any of your cohorts and actors or screenwriters or anything would like to call in, they're welcome to do that on this show today.
I just sent out an email blast to everybody before our talk. The thing is, though, we're an all volunteer creative group, which means everyone has a day job. And this is my day job. I work on this full time as well as my feature films, like the one you mentioned, Chance Day. Thank you. I'm still trying to sell it. It's actually a dramedy. There is comedy. They don't both die. Actually, neither of them die. Spoiler alert. It's watch the whole thing. You won't cry. You'll laugh by the end of it. But yeah, so they're all probably at work. Hopefully they're listening. I'm not sure if they can get away and make a phone call, but they're aware of it. And I've been promoting this interview. So we'll see. Hopefully someone will call in from the East Coast, West Coast. I also included a couple of my uncles who've been very supportive of what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
And by the way, we'll go ahead and open up the phone lines. So if you would like to give us a call to talk to Jill, if you're an uncle or somebody who works with her or somebody that has seen some of her work, give us a call at 425-373-5527 or 888-298-5569. Now, I got to ask you, how'd you come up with Left Coast Comedy Tour? Because I had never heard that expression until I was in Arkansas. And it was like I was standing in a cubicle with several other guys that were from the area. And Arkansas, as you know, is what they call a red state. So it is very conservative there. And it's a lot of Southern Baptists and that kind of thing. And the old Southern Baptist, not the new. The guy, I understand, is evolving. But so they were standing around a cubicle, and they said, "So, where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Seattle." It's like, "You mean you're from the left coast? Are you from?" And this was when Clinton was president, all the way back then. I said, "Are you a fan of Clinton?" And I said, "And you have to be very careful. But where did you come up with the left coast comedy?"
Well, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from above the Mason-Dixon line. So I understand what you're saying. My brother moved down to Florida, so they still call him a darn Yankee. Um, and I've traveled across the country. I've driven through all our states. So it's pretty amazing. We all speak English, but we all have different points of view. So that's why I created Left Coast Comedy and have a lot of people supporting me. I think we're at 100 actors and crew at this juncture, which is amazing. But my reference to Left Coast Comedy was East Coast, West Coast, right, left. So it wasn't political at all. It was just geographically speaking, we're out here on the West Coast, which I love. I mean, I love my home state of Pennsylvania, but this is home for me. Actually, Colorado Rockies come in a close second, where I lived for 10 years. But the reality is, I looked at Saturday Night Live. They're based in New York City, and Lorne Michaels has done an incredible job for decades now, right? And then in Chicago, their second city, and that's where a lot of our comedic actors come from. And then I looked at LA. They have the Groundlings, again, another hot spot for producing comedic actors. But there was nothing really up here in the Pacific Northwest. And honestly, I got tired of waiting for LA, Hollywood, to come and pick up one of my feature films. I'm like, I need to be making movies. I need to be directing, interacting with actors and talking to people about filming at their businesses and pulling all the wardrobe and props and whatever we need. We're recreating Kremlin right now, the Kremlin, Putin's office over at the Moose Club in Southeast Portland next month, which will be great. And Bryn, one of my actors who's incredible, has offered to help. She's great on set design too. So together, and then with Debbie, another Washington connection, she's been helpful on so many productions. So I just am so grateful for all the actors and crews that are helping us, and the musicians too. So that's why, there was nothing here. So we can wait and wait and wait, but the reality is I don't wait very well. So I just started it, and they agreed, and we just shot in my backyard. You're talking about AI earlier. So we have this series based on Alexa, but we call it Halexa with an H. And it's a series about AI, or artificial intelligence, invading the home, and the women don't like it at all. So I have 4 episodes that I've written. I started it, and then Ali, another writer friend of mine, has also written on it. So we are up to episode 4 about AI. So we try to stay topical. We go green. I ask all my cast and crew to bring their own water bottles. I hate to see a sea of plastic water bottles on my set. We recycle. We use bamboo plates. So we're green, female centric. We just try to do the right thing. We're kind of like a B corporation without the paperwork, which puts the planet and the planet and people before profit. And we're operating in that same mode, along, like you mentioned before. My ethics in my film company is justice, mercy, love. There needs to be a reason for what we do. Yes, we want to entertain you. We want to make you smile, because we have all kinds of flavors of humor on our Left Coast Comedy channel. But we also want you to maybe think about something, and then maybe act, or at least talk about it, to get the world changing as you're doing with your Positive Talk Radio, thinking in a more bright, light, happy world. Because right now it's a little rocky out there.
You've noticed, have you?
Oh my gosh. And I just can't focus on the dark. I mean, yeah, every day something good is going to happen, is how I look at it. And sometimes we try to make it happen. And we do when we're on film set. It's really magical when you bring people together. Like, I just met a new director, editor, Raymond Parson. I'm sorry, I'm killing his name, Parson, from your area, from Seattle. And he drove down and filmed with us on Saturday and Sunday. 2 new crews both days, great actors, great crew. But Raymond and I were the 2 constant on last weekend. I think that's why I'm still tired today, because it was a lot of work in 48 hours, but it was great. So we'll just keep doing this. We're up to, I had 28 productions either released in pre-production or filming up next, or are at the script level, like with your radio series that we'd like to do. Houston and I and you need to work on that. And then Scott, another actor, actually found us a radio studio down here where we can start it, but perhaps then we come up to Seattle. It's all about money. So I have to work within concentric circles, because I'm self-funding this, and I need to reach out to more sponsors, location sponsors, food sponsors, water and feed our cast and crew, etc. So you know how it goes. Money does.
You and me both, sister.
I know. So, but people have been very kind. The generosity of sponsors and our neighbors and our friends and family, it's been incredible. So I'm very grateful that everyone keeps supporting us, so we can keep making you smile and laugh.
Well, here's where I'm going to drop my my public service announcement, and that is this. that the work that Jill is doing with the films that she's creating, which are all about positivity and living life a little bit better, and they're green and they're really are working to make mankind think a little bit and be a little bit better. Those things don't exist without the effort and the financial means to be able to do it, which means that Jill, and I have no idea what your financial situation is, and you're going to do this as long as you can, but it's important. It's same with Positive Talk Radio. It is important that if you believe in the work, if you really honestly think that this is a better thing to be listening to than hate, division, and fear, then you need to support us. You need to support this work, because if you don't, it can go away, and it can go away at the drop of a hat. And so just, if you feel called, and we're going to put up my Patreon in a little bit. If you feel called, you can join us, and we can become a thing. We can become a movement. And I would love to be part of what you're doing, because I went to your one of your meetings, and I was just sitting there minding my own business. And then Jill said, "Well, do you have any thoughts, Kevin?" And I said, "Well, I do radio, and I've done over 2,000 interviews. Some of them have been really, really good. Most of them have been really, really good. But occasionally, interviews are like a box of chocolates, as Forrest Gump would say. You never know what you're going to get. And sometimes things go south, and those can be really quite funny. And Jill and her group and I are working on putting together a little skit about how an interview goes bad, and then what do you do, and stuff. So, and they're moving with it, and I think it's great. And by the way, if somebody wants to join your group, if they're an actor, if they're a screenwriter, if they are a would-be director, or if you love set design, or if you have a space that they can utilize, all of the above are open on the table. How do they contact you?
Well, I try to be visible, so you can start by obviously Googling my name, Jill Murphy Long. But then on IMBD, there's contact information. Also on our YouTube page, if you click on each individual comedic sketch, I highlight the actors and crew, their name, and then there's our information, our website, our email, our phone numbers. We're also on Instagram. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and IMBD. And then you can always email me personally at scriptwriterjml@gmail.com. But I would encourage anyone interested in participating in any capacity is to follow, like, subscribe, comment, just get to know us. And it's a good group. They're all funny people and all different flavors. We have sarcastic, super smart, slapstick, silly, ironic. Yeah, we have the full gamut. So if one video doesn't quite work for you, try the next. But we are PG-13. We're working with actors from 7 to 80 plus, writers too. I try to keep the number equal in front of the camera in regard to men and women. As far as being female centric, I want female crew and actors and vice versa. So Bros, one skit we just filmed last weekend in the Halexis series, it's all guys, but I promise episode 4 is all women. So we keep it balanced. And also all ethnicities. We're trying to reach out to everyone in the Pacific Northwest. So I have a friend from, I believe she's from Mexico. Liana is a great actor. She also speaks Spanish. So we're putting up some of on our comedic sketches subtitles in Spanish. My other friend Christina is from Rome, so she just helped me do Italian. I'm also sending our comedic work to film festivals here and around the world, just to get more of an audience appreciating what we're doing and helping us grow. And then we're also doing French. Lexi is incredible on crew, but she also is a writer and she speaks French. So we're working on that one next week. So and then we also have done closed caption on all of our, actually I did it. That's a lot of work because YouTube does not use punctuation and capitalization. No. And as an English professor and adjunct creative writer in Colorado and in Oregon here, drives me nuts. It has to be perfect. So I sit there and laboriously make sure, and it's still not perfect. I still go back and correct some things, but I want to also service our American Sign community. And Abe and both Liana are both American Sign. I don't know how to do anything. I'm not saying anything with my hands right now, but so we did closed captions. So that community can also enjoy the humor and laugh and smile. And also those who are watching at work and they're not supposed to be on the computer, but at least they can watch maybe over lunch. So again, just trying to make our work accessible no matter where you are in the world. So we have followers in India and Canada and England and Australia. And of course the United States. So it's wonderful. And that's our goal, is to just keep spreading, to be the light, to be the brightness, to, spread happiness as much as we can.
I want to share this with everybody, and just in case you don't know, and a lot of people don't, if you're not a YouTube creator, they have certain rules that they keep you from being able to, what they call, monetize, or to profit from the content that you're making. One of the rules is you have to have 1,000 subscribers. And they recently lowered it from 4,000 hours to 3,000 hours, which is still a lot of hours.
But that's good news.
Yes, it is. But still, so if you go to the YouTube site, make sure that you subscribe and watch a couple of things, and you'll get a kick out of it. It's great fun and stuff. But that also puts Left Coast Comedy in a position where they can monetize a little bit, because again, I got to point this out again, and I'm going to start talking about this incessantly, is that everything in this world costs money. And in order to make it work, you've got to be able to generate enough money to cover your expenses. And that's all you're attempting to do. You're not looking to become a rich person. You just need to cover the expenses that you're incurring so that the work can continue, because the work is king. Am I wrong in that?
Nope. I mean, right now, like I said, we're an all volunteer collaboration, which is amazing that everyone's come, be in Washington at 7:30. And we filmed at the Lakeside Market in February, and I had to cancel the first time because they're up on a hill and it was so icy. So I canceled and rescheduled a day that it wasn't snowing sideways and freezing. And we all got there and filmed it. So the brother team that helped us on that was Nathan and Nicholas Wilson, and they're amazing. So they created dentist jokes. So please watch that and support the market up there. So we just want to spread the happiness, and if we can pull in additional funds, and I can go back and pay everybody something for driving to Washington or for spending 4 to 6 hours with me on a Sunday. But it's been great so far. Everyone's been so generous, letting us film in their backyard or in their bamboo forest in the front yard, in their kitchen, in their bedroom. So we filmed. I know. So Samran Chaudhary, who I met when I started Portland Previews, it was a small film festival when I first moved to Portland because I didn't know anybody. And I hosted it 2014 to 2015. The first year, it was just screenings of short films and et cetera. And then the second year, we added a table read. And Samran's skit, his short film won. It was called Call Harry. So I've been working with him since 2015, and he's great. He's a DP editor. But recently, he's been writing also for Left Coast Comedy. He's a great writer too. And he acted in Gardening Accident. You got to check that one out. But don't tell his grandmother, because he's kind of almost naked. It's PG. There's no naked people. He's in a towel. But anyhow, he's like, don't tell my grandmother. So anyhow, he wrote a short skit called But Daddy, I Love Him, which is hilarious. But it was set in a bedroom. And I'm like, all right, who's going to let us come in and shoot in their bedroom? First of all, we need space for the cameraman, the camera person, sound, the actors, me, everybody. It gets very crowded fast by the time you add all the equipment and bodies in the room. So we found a place and we filmed, and it turned out great. So it's a really short one. It's under 3 minutes, but it's hilarious. We also needed a mannequin. We found a mannequin. We also needed, remember Fabio that was on the book covers of the romances and the romances?
Oh, sure.
We have Fabio in it. So anyhow, it's pretty hilarious. Yeah. So we just make it work. And that's what's really fun about making movies. I'm an author. I've written 5 books. In fact, this is Maxwell Parrish on my second book, Permission to Play. I love that art. So I put it on my first book with permission. And then the second book is, the first one, I don't know if you can see, Flaming June on the Wall, was on permission to nap. So not to plug my books, because that was a long, long time ago. But I love connecting with people. And I was meeting one reader at a time when I went on book tour, radio, TV, and I was always go to bookstores and universities and schools and talk to students about what writing can do for your life. But why am I telling you this? So with film, it's a creative puzzle. You have a story, and then how do you bring it to life? Who are the people involved, and what are the pieces and parts? So that's where it goes back to money. How do we finance all this? And I'm a frugal producer. I run around and borrow and buy or return or whatever we might need to get the story the best that it can be. So that's what's fun. And that's why I've always gravitated to film, and I'm glad I'm here now. And I'll keep directing and writing until I'm, Betty White of film at 93 or 104.
And the world will be better off because of it, I do have to say. By the way, we're talking with Jill Murphy Long. Go to jmlfilms.com, amongst other things. Start there, and then you can work out to YouTube and elsewhere. We need to take a break, but when we come back, I am struck by your ability, and I think it's clearly an ability to connect with other people, to bring people together, to make everybody to look out for everybody's best interest. That's a skill, and I'd like you to share with our audience how you learn to do that, because I think we can all learn to do that a little bit better. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio here on KKNW 1150 AM, and we'll be right back after these minutes. Hey PTR loyal listener. First, thanks for being in my dream. And second, I have a new concept in business to share with you. It's called socialpreneurship. So, what's that? Well, it's the idea that any company designates all profits, beyond expenses, to be awarded to a local or international charity or project which is working to achieve good in the world. KM Media is such a company. We believe that it's important for us to give back whenever possible and to make great things happen. So I hope you'll join us in creating this new business model that will positively impact all of us. In the next few weeks, we will lay out the plan and begin our fundraising efforts. So stay tuned for more details right here on Positive Talk Radio.
When you want to say more than words communicate, you can with flowers. Your custom boutique floral studio in Bothell, Washington is anaturaldesign.com, connecting you to nature through the language of flowers. Where your people are is where our flowers are beautiful. Your success is our goal. anaturaldesign.com at your fingertips today.
Hey, thanks for listening to Positive Talk Radio. Did you know that we're also a media production company? Well, surprise, we are. We can create all kinds of audio, video products to fill any need. Please visit kmmedia.pro/our-store for a complete list of products and services. In addition, do you need a great voice to add to your own website or any other project? I know that we can add depth and quality to your work. I've been told more times than I can count by many professionals in the business that my voice adds to the quality of the presentation. So, let me create something for you. Please contact me at kevin@kmmedia.pro and let's create something great. And welcome back to Positive Radio, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, and you're listening to KKW 1150 AM. Jill Murphy Long is our guest. She's the head bottle washer of Left Coast Comedy, and she's from the East Coast, but now it's Left Coast Comedy. And she's doing films, and she's working right out of the Portland area, and she is also a producer. She directs, she writes, she does all kinds of things. But one of the things that you do extraordinarily well is you bring people together. What's your secret? How do you do it?
I have to thank my mom. She was really good at bringing people together. Unfortunately, she left us too early. I was only 20 when she died. But everything I do to make her proud. And she was a real connector.
And by the way, she is extraordinarily proud of everything that you've done.
The other person I have to thank is my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Peggy Carnahan. And she's like, stop calling me Mrs. Carnahan. You're an adult. You have a child. You're married. So Peggy is still back in York, Pennsylvania. Whenever I go home, I see her. And then whenever I move, California, Colorado, now here in Portland, she always comes and visits me. And she's a very positive person, and she's great at connecting and looking out for the best for everybody. So I just really appreciate having her in my life. And again, just having my family and friends support me for what I do. So I believe in what you give out comes back tenfold. So I keep trying to emulate what Peggy does and what my mom did, which is just help people because it's really fun to help people, whether I help with a resume or as an author, I edited a lot of books. So seeing these, 24 authors actually have an idea, put it on paper, and then have it produced was amazing. So I did that when I was skiing in Colorado. When the resort would shut down, then I would go home and either write my own screenplays or help other authors be published. So it's just very rewarding. And I think if more people did that, the world would be a better place. And like you said, I don't need a ton of money. If I do have money, it's going to go back to my cast and crew, and then also to fix our river and help with the homelessness. Obviously take care of incidentals, because there's always costs when you're starting a company. I would love to have a studio, because my office right now, you can't see that corner, but it's exploding with props. We're shooting a music video. And there's a lot of props with that. So yeah, it'd be nice to have a little more space, but you always manage. You make do with what you have.
Exactly. You really do. And I need to bring Nathan in here just to make sure. Nathan, am I cleared up a little bit? I closed out some things on my computer.
Yeah, you're all good now.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And by the way, Jill, and I don't know if you do this, but I've started to do this now, which is Patreon. Are you familiar with Patreon?
Yes, I am.
And Nathan is going to put up my Patreon address. And if you would like to go there, which is patreon.com/positive talk radio, I've got something. We ask a donation of like $10 a month to help keep the show on the air and to keep us moving forward. And there's a book that I've voiced and that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, since you are a director and know actors and stuff, they tell me, somebody does anyway, that I have a really, really good radio voice. Well, is that true? And what do you think?
You do. And I like Nathan's voice too, if you needed two different types of voices. So I'll promote you on my JML Films Facebook group. I have so many groups I can't keep up sometimes, but I'll put it out there because, you wouldn't be a great voice also for audio, for like a audio book. So one of my books, Permission to Nap, a local Washington author, Jill Segru, was my voice of Permission to Nap. And she read my book and now it's up on Kindle. So you might want to think about doing that because the voice is so important in a book. You either like it or you don't. And your voice would be very good for a lot of different genres. So I'll help you get out there. Yes,
well, I appreciate it.
I'll hire you.
Well, and now that you've been on the show and you can actually tell other people, I'm hoping that you will, that we don't suck, that we can get some of the other actors and directors and screenwriters and stuff to come by, because I love the creative aspect of what you do. Creating something from nothing it really is a skill, and I don't know where you get it from, but it comes from someplace, and I think it comes from someplace else.
Yeah, no, you're right. We're just the conduit that comes through, but you have to be open to ideas. So when I was leading writing groups back in Southern California and then in Colorado and then teaching, I love to teach, but they don't pay enough. They don't pay our teachers. So I always have to jump back over. I mean, I teach to get some money and then I come and make films and then go back to teaching again. But the reality is, you have to be open and looking. So I always encourage my students, my writers in the writer's room at Left Coast Comedy, always to be looking and carry. I mean, I'm still old school. I use, a notebook. I also talk into my cell phone and record an email message to myself or text myself, but ideas are everywhere. And if you don't jump on it and do it, someone else is going to pick it up. So always be open to ideas. So I encourage my writers to watch good movies. And on my website, on my YouTube channel, JML Films LLC, there's a bunch of JML films out there. I can't believe that many people have my initials, but anyhow, it exists. But during COVID, when I was teaching at Portland Community College, Sylvania, I started pulling all the trailers of great movies, great feature films and documentaries, which you might have seen, but it's worthwhile going back and revisiting them. So I put the trailers up there. So if you look under recommended great movies, you'll see over 100 trailers. And I asked my students to watch with the American subtitles on English, because you don't always hear what they're saying. But if you're reading and watching it as a writer, you get to maybe write better dialogue. I also encourage them to read screenplays, because again, it's one thing to watch it on TV, but another thing to see it on paper. Go to new places, even if it's just across town, because you will see it from a different perspective. So ideas are everywhere. But then the hard part's sitting down and writing it. And writing it, I asked my writers in Left Coast Comedy to write for 1 to 4 characters and under 6 pages, because usually it translates to 1 page per minute. And we're trying to keep all our comedic sketches under 6 minutes. 3, 4, 5 minutes is better, just because it's comedy.
Exactly. Well, you know, I learned when we were doing the when I was at one of your Zoom meetings, and they were doing some read throughs of new material that folks were putting out there. Screenwriting is a completely different genre than being an author, because you're creating, not only are you creating the dialogue, but you're creating the space
Yep.
and the feel and
World.
the blocking and everything that goes on with a film production. And it really is a different way of reading. It has a different way of looking at it. It really is a skill that I haven't mastered yet. I couldn't even read some of the dialogue because I didn't know it was mine.
I mean, I love words. I used to read the dictionary as a kid, so I'm kind of a nerd in that regard. And I wrote, my books are 75,000 word books. However, when you write a screenplay, it's learning, retraining your brain again to be very economic with your words. Every single word has to count. So the spec script you write is maybe a little more flowery and bigger, but as you get down, so I take that and make a shooting script. Then you're thinking in shots. And my friend Sam Moran said, you got to think in shots. What's the master shot? And then what else can we do from this, camera setups? So it's a different way of thinking. And that's what I love about getting together with everybody on set. We've done this, 20, 25 times already this year. And my goal is to have 24 productions done by the year end. And we're going to wait. We've already exceeded that. So I'm thrilled. But the idea is that we all get together and we all learn from each other. So when we come to set, there's that magic, and then we work. And then as we all leave, we learn something. We all take something new home from that experience. I need to be talk slower. Thanks, Peggy Carnahan. She talks really fast. That's where I learned that from. And then secondly, I need to be shorter in what I say, because as an author, I write books when I send people emails. But there's just one of me and 100 of them, so I need to get the message out. So hopefully 90% of them read what I write. But if not, there's always the phone and text messages. But yeah, you're right. As far as film, you have to think about sound. Sound is so important. So Sean's been great. Blake Olson's been great on set with sound. All my sound people, Scott Taylor, who's from Seattle, Washington, is so important, because we can tell a really good story. And if it's not shot perfect for whatever reason, sound has to be 100% all the time, because if you can't hear it, no one's going to watch it. So everything layers, the wardrobe, the props, the dialogue, the subtext, the world we've created, the message we're trying to get out, the title, how we open it, how we close it. It's like telling a joke. We set it up, we tell it, we pay it off. But we do that like 5 or 6 times in the length of a short comedic sketch or an ad parody or a music video.
Well, even lighting is such an important aspect of it.
Right. So we're trying to film. I always hate on TV, or not TV, TV. You can tell when it's a night shot. You can tell when there's a green screen, right? So in car scenes, you can tell they're fake. So I'm always trying to not do that, or try to do it better. So of course, in the Christmas Goat, which Sam Moran and Larry Harley's in that, a lot of people that are in Left Coast Comedy helped me before the pandemic shoot some concept trailers. We shot in a car, even though I said I'd never shoot in a car. So we had to get a polarized lens, and we had there's trees, and the trees above it would reflect on the hood of the car. So we had to pretend it's moving. So it was hard. And then we put a goat in the car because it's called the Christmas Goat. And anyhow, so all these things that could go wrong went really well. So you can film with goats. They're like dogs. They become your buddies. They know you have treats, so they follow you everywhere. So the creative challenges are fun because it makes us think outside the box. And since we are limited on resources, we have to be super creative to accomplish what we accomplished. And I give kudos to my cast and crew, because they deliver every time. They come to set knowing their lines. They come dressed. They come ready. And same thing with the crew, with lighting, sound, camera angles. It's amazing what we can pull off in a very short period of time.
Well, you've been in the business for a long time, and you've written a bunch of stuff, and what is your favorite movie of all time?
Mine or others?
Yours.
Well, I'm from Pennsylvania. In 1979, the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant had a meltdown, which they just said, oh, it was nothing, it's fine. Well, unfortunately, the people in the 4 counties surrounding 3 Mile Island now are very sick. And that is the latent nature, insidious and latent nature of being exposed to iodine radiation, cesium-137, iodine-131, plutonium-230, I always fake the number, 237, and strontium-90. It's released into the air and water, falls back down where we live, and now people are very sick. It causes cancers of the soft organs of the body, tumors in the brain and central nervous system, and neurological diseases like Asperger's, autism, MS, Parkinson's, ALS. It's just so insidious. That's my word of the day. So my movie, to answer your question, is my personal story. It's a feature film with other people's stories involved. I have over 5,000 followers on a it's a Facebook group called 3 Mile Island Survivor that Christine and Joe started. These people are telling their stories. About 500 of them wrote to me personally, so I have their stories. So Plutonium Skies is going to show the dark truth about the nuclear industry. It's not clean, it's not green, and it's not safe as much as they're selling it as. We need to turn to renewable energy, the blue and green energy that other countries are doing quite well. In Turkey, you go down the middle of the freeway, right? So they have a vertical turbine which spins, catches the electricity, catches the energy of the wind, thanks to the cars and trucks. On top, they have solar. And guess what? It powers the whole immediate community. We have oceans that tides every day, in, out, in. We can capture that energy. We have solar in Arizona. Arizona has the largest nuclear power plant in the United States, and there's no water. So it's just ludicrous what the nuclear industry has done. So we need to pivot and change and go to energy sources that are not going to continue to pollute and kill the earth. In fact, Blake Olson, one of my DP sound guys that helps in Left Coast Comedy, he has his own production company called The Earth is Dying. And he focuses on, the problems, but also provides solutions to what needs to be done. And that's what I'm doing with Left Coast Comedy. With Plutonium Skies, which we're speaking to a director right now that's from Pennsylvania, who's in LA, who hopefully we can pull on his heartstrings and he'll agree to direct. And then once he directs, then we can bring on talent, and then we can bring on equity and distribution, and the movie will be out. Because Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan, just produced his movie, which was great. And there's a lot of documentaries out there about other hotspots in the United States. But I think a feature film like Dark Waters, like Aaron Brockovich, like Contagion, will reach more people so they understand. And it's not a complicated science. Of course, they tell you it is. And I've researched this for 10 years. So what do you want to know about nuclear? And that's my passion project.
Well, that's really cool. And congratulations for that. And I hope that gets done and produced and is out there, because you're not the only ones in Pennsylvania that have got an issue. There's a place called Hanford, which is in Eastern Washington, which is where they put nuclear waste that lasts
from TMI. We shipped our junk to you. We also shipped it to Idaho National Laboratory, it's crazy. Hanford's like half the size of Rhode Island. It's gigantic. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. So
no, it's huge, and we bury these barrels of stuff that is supposed to it's dangerous for 10,000 years.
24,100 years is the half-life of plutonium-234. Yeah.
Did you say that again?
Ready for the number? 24,100 years. What do you do with that? Finland is burying it under the ground. Great, Finland. I mean, we're a closed system, and that's what people keep forgetting. They keep trying to pop off the Mars, but I'm sorry, Mars is very cold and very hot. It's not very hospitable. There's no Airbnb. I don't want to go there yet. We need to fix our planet and save it. And it can. Mother Nature is very resilient, but if we keep throwing junk into it, it's just going to implode on itself. So yeah, Hanford's leaking into the Columbia River. Jerry, your representative from the state of Washington, he's also an attorney and he teaches at the university, and he's your representative. He's also an attorney. Jerry Pollett has been fighting and trying to put a spotlight on what's happening in Hanford. It's just not us. It's everywhere. I mean, we can talk on a whole nother episode about nuclear in the United States and worldwide, and what we did to the Pacific Ocean and who's trying to help, and what we did to the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, I went vegetarian, stopped eating all meat after Fukushima in March of 2011. And that was just yesterday. And now they're trying to dump it into the Pacific. And there's a summit happening now with Biden, Korea, and Japan. And that's one of the conversations. Like, what do we do with this nuclear waste after Fukushima triple meltdown?
Yep.
It's just ludicrous.
And the other thing that we have to look at, and we've talked about it before on the show, and we'll talk about it again. There was a smelter in Tacoma, and they used to call, Tacoma's kind of cleaned up now, but it used to be the aroma of Tacoma, because you'd go by there and it would smell like it definitely had an aroma. Well, one of the plants that was there was a plant that spewed arsenic. And this arsenic now, because of how the ecosystem works, it goes up in the air, and then rain will drive it into the ground. And there are places in Tacoma still, playgrounds still have got arsenic poison materials in it, and so we need to really. Oh, and Nathan, what did you go ahead? Come on back and say what you just wrote.
I was just mentioning that a few weeks ago I was driving through Tacoma and had my windows down, hot sunny day, and I was going through around the Tacoma Dome and noticed to myself, hey, there's a Tacoma aroma. I thought it was gone. It's been a while since I've smelled it.
So what does it smell like?
Just sounds like a mellow sewage type smell.
Lovely.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So our entire planet is polluted. We've done a terrific job. Do you know that? Are you familiar with the Ariana Trench?
Yes.
Which is like
very
in
deep.
the ocean.
Yeah, like what?
And it is
5
like
miles deep?
Yeah, it's like several miles deep. They found a plastic bag in the bottom of the Ariana Trench.
So again, why my film sets are green? I just no. There's too much garbage. We recycle everything. It's just crazy. And if everyone did that, we'd have less of an issue. But plastic bags have to go. It's not that hard to carry a bag to the grocery store. They do that all over Europe. So I went back to Pennsylvania, and they gave me a plastic bag, and I'm like, nope, I'll just carry everything out in my arms. Like, no.
Well, we're trying to do a little bit better here, and they now charge for plastic bags and stuff.
It should be cheaper, or bring your own, or use your arms. I mean, that should be recycling should be on a federal level, and that's a whole other issue I'd like to attack, because it's just stupid. It's the plastic industry. It's the fossil fuel industry pushing their agenda, making more money wherever they can.
Oh, and by the way, I was reading today that, of course, global warming isn't a thing, because it really doesn't really happen, which is why, you don't have weird weather happening places. Guess where a hurricane is coming to?
Where?
Southern California, to a place near us, a hurricane. Now we're not talking about a tornado, and they've also had a couple of those, but an actual hurricane is going to come up the Baja Peninsula and go into Southern California. And so we don't have any problems with our environment. But we've got to stop it. We've got to fix it. We got to fix it now.
Well, you can't mess with Mother Nature. She's going to win.
Mother Nature's going to be fine. We may not be,
no, we won't. But she's just shaking the earth to get rid of some of us because we've messed up our home. I mean, I grew up, and maybe it wasn't even healthy then, but going back and interviewing a lot of people that lived through 3 Mile Island, one was a corporate state trooper, Barry, and I held an event. Everyone came, and without thinking, I had pitchers of water around, and like, oh, we don't drink the water here because they're right there's 3 Mile Island. This is a middle town. It's like they employ everybody. 600 people work right down the road at this monstrosity. It's on an island in the middle of the Susquehanna River. The drinking water to 6 million people, including my family, and the towers are 400 feet tall. And anyhow, and Barry said, he's a little bit older than I was. He goes, this wasn't the way. He goes, before they built that, we used to be able to drink water off the garden hose. Summertime, it's hot, you're playing, but you're 8, 7 years old, just drink off. We don't do that anymore. I have a reverse osmosis system in my house, so I bottle my own water. I have a HEPA air filter now because of when, go back to Hanford, in 2017, they had a tunnel collapse. So in their brilliance, they would just drive trains loaded with nuclear waste, garbage, and let's call it what it is, radioactive nuclear garbage, drove it into they drove it down the tracks. They built this wooden structure over it, packed it with dirt, and called it good. Well, in 2017, because it's so freaking hot, it's nuclear waste, it collapsed. There was a big hole, 20 feet by 20 feet. So then in their brilliance again, they just pulled up with dump trucks. It was clean dirt and they filled the hole. Nobody's in hazmat. Nobody's in respirators. They had a Geiger counter at the gate, checking it. It's like so ludicrous. So they put all these people at risk. They pay them a lot of money. So they think, oh, it's okay, I'll be fine. But in 20, 30 years, and that's the latent nature of being exposed to iodine radiation, your cancer will present. I was 40.
Jill, I have to tell you that we've run out of time.
Oh.
And so I need to have you back so that we can go into a little bit about that, because that's very, very important. By the way, we've been talking with Jill Murphy Long, Left Coast Comedy. Go to Left Coast Comedy. Well, I'm a loser. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And by the way, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. I'll see you at 3 on Kixie.
Thank you.